So thank you, Jon, for taking part of this and taking time out of your busy day with everything and letting me do this interview with you. It's much appreciated.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no worries. And congrats on Crisis of Faith. Like, what was it like putting out an album in the midst of like COVID and like working on and like creating new music?
Yeah, thank you for the congrats. It was a challenge, we had gotten to the point in our career where we felt like we could take a little bit of time off after the Afraid of Heights tour. And we kind of took almost a year off of just living life with our lives and away from the band kind of thing. And then we reconvened to start working on the record. And so about a year later, we were about ready to go into the studio, and that's when COVID hit. And so it really pushed things back because it was hard to work in the studio because, we weren't allowed to be together and all that kind of stuff. And then we had a lot of personal challenges that happened within the group that kind of delayed things, and any kind of personal challenge in this pandemic has been even more challenging. So yeah, it was a tough ride, but I think the time really helped us to like really perfect the record because it was all ready to go for a long time, and we just got to sit with it and kind of even improve it. So that's actually how we got the Rivers Como guest appearance, because
awesome.
The song was, it was all done and we were sitting on it, and Ben just suggested, hey, this it reminds us of a Weezer song. Why don't we send it to Weezer to see if Rivers would sing on it? And so if it wasn't for COVID, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, so always some good things coming out of the worst situations, right?
Yeah.
So I've noticed, like, since Billy Talent 1, you did numerical values for each album up to 3, and then you switched to Dead Silence, Afraid of Heights, and now Crisis of Faith, like kind of like these new anxiety-ridden titles per se. Was there like anything particularly motivated behind the change from going to like 4, 5, 6, or is there a deeper meaning behind these titles, or is it just something that the band wanted to change as a whole?
I think after once we couldn't come up with a title for Billy Talent 3, and then decided to name it 3, we always thought that would kind of work out well because it's like a trilogy type of thing or whatever. 3's worked well with the number system. But those early album titles were just basically because we couldn't decide on things.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to change it when Dead Silence came around, and it just seemed like a perfect title for that record, and it went really along with the artwork. And I think a lot of our songwriting is kind of anxiety release.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe that's why the doom and gloom titles are there, because it's kind of like, well, this is what we're feeling inside, and this is what came out of us, and the title is appropriate.
Okay, so you mentioned that Dead Silence came after you saw the artwork. Is that how it's always been with like title names and sometimes even songs? Like, do you write the music and then combine like the lyrics? Do you see the artwork and then come up with an album name? Like, what's that creative process like?
If I can remember correctly, back then with Dead Silence, we sent like kind of the thoughts and the feelings and the direction of the album to Ken Taylor. He did the artwork on that, and he came back with a sketch of the shark in the swimming in the submerged town, with the phone booth in the middle, and we had all the songs written and everything like that. And Dead Silence, that song itself was epic, and we thought it kind of just all pointed to itself. So in that particular instance, it worked. And with Afraid of Heights, I think we were just like, it just sounded really cool. It just worked. Sometimes it just presents itself, right?
Yeah, for sure.
We're not closed off to too many ideas. So wherever we something good or inspiring, wherever it comes from, it's fine.
Fair enough. So going back to Crisis of Faith, like if you had to choose a favorite song off the album, which one would it be, and why is it probably all of them?
It is it's a really strong album. I really love Forgiveness because it's got everything As a musician, it's got a ton of stuff that I really, really like. All like kind of focused into one track, so it's like heavy, it's difficult to play. I think it's ambitious, and so that's probably my favorite track, I think. But I like hanging out with all the wrong people too, because it's fun. It's got a really cool bass line.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're all really special.
Oh, for sure. The album's absolutely fantastic. I had a chance to listen to it last night. It's definitely one of the strongest albums I've heard you guys put out.
Appreciate that.
And when you were mentioning forgiveness, that's actually a perfect segue to the next question. Part one is this like very specific Billy Talent rock sound. And then part two kind of morphs into like a rock jazz vibe.
Yeah.
So what was the decision to make a rock jazz vibe in part two and then put it with one track and then releasing that as the first single off the new album for the world to hear?
Well, I think it's just about Ian expressing himself creatively as a songwriter, and we've always been a big fan of the big ending, the long ending, and I think that the twist in the song was kind of really, really kind of cool. He may have had two songs and then realized they blended together, but for the actual decision on how that came about would have to be answered by Ian, because he just said, "Hey, I wanted to go into this cool like Pink Floyd Moogie part after. What do you guys think of that?" And we're like, "That sounds fucking awesome." So and yeah, like I think we're beyond like kind of thinking about what we have to do to like as a band. We're more interested in doing things that just make us happy and as songwriters in the band. So when we hear something we like now, we don't really think about whether it's gonna fit in anymore, like with our catalog or anything like that. We just do things because it's fun and it's awesome. We've earned that right.
Oh, 100%. Being a band for 20 plus something years here, then more with Pez on the back end of that too. Like you guys definitely earn the right to do what you want with the music at this point. Yeah.
We've experimented a bit.
Yeah. So every album you put out, there's always one or two songs that always like has that hidden deeper meaning. And I'm hoping you can answer this. It's not another Ian question, but like on Crisis of Faith, what would you say that song with that deeper messages that's not like just on the surface? Like on, I think it's Afraid Heights, Ghost Ship of Cannibal Rats. It's about literally that ship, but also about like climate change and whatnot, as I saw you guys talking about in other interviews. So what would you say like the Crisis of Faith album song is that has a like hidden deeper message behind it?
Well, there's The Wolf is a song that kind of transcends two different people's feelings. So that song is about loss and dealing with loss. But I think it might be a little bit obvious when you listen to the lyrics. That's a good question. What's the that's too good of a question for me.
Yeah, like listening back from the album last night when I was listening to it, I was thinking it was either Reactor or One Less Problem. Just like listening to the music and listening to what the lyrics were and trying to get inside of the message of it. I felt like that maybe might have been one of them, but
well, Reactor is a good one. That for me, that's the one that always slips out of the mind, because but that song is more about what we were witnessing with the Black Lives Matter movement, and I think that song was actually written long before all the major riots that were happening during the I guess it was 2019, and all this stuff that was happening then with the George Floyd tragedy. It was actually written before all of that stuff, and
oh wow,
and it has the bridge "I Can't Breathe" in it, which ended up becoming prophetic with what happened with George Floyd. So I think that one is kind of, to me, it's a little bit obvious about where the lyrics coming from. And For You is more of a just like a holy fuck, what's going on? Or sorry, not For You. One Less Problem is like what's going on with everything is just like, can we just have some steady, like kind of peace and quiet for a little while?
Yeah.
You know.
Like finally, can we just get like that small minute of like break where we can just take that breath finally?
Yeah, and what I really appreciate about that song, and it speaks to Ian's brilliance, is it's a very, very happy sounding song, and but the lyrical content is so dark. It reminds me of the Police, and you know, that the influence that they have on our band.
Okay, cool. So just a little bit more about you now. So playing like bass for Pez and playing bass then for Billy Talent, like the difference in sound and instrumental to an extent and style of music, what was that change like? And have you found yourself wanting to go back to that Pez sound a little bit as you play bass, or are you like very happy with the new sound Billy Talent's created over the last 20 odd years?
Oh, I love the Billy Talent catalog and everything that I played on it. Definitely, I think during those Pez years, we were young musicians full of piss and vinegar and trying to impress everybody by being as busy and you know, as technically good as we can. And then growing older and then working with like more experienced people, and Gavin Brown, who produced our first record, really kind of was able to open our eyes to, you know, that doesn't make, just because you're flying around the neck on bass or guitar doesn't make it good. You know, that's not, you know, what people are listening for with music and with art. And it's really about working together and balancing things and finding when the time is right to like kind of get in there and shred, and then when it's time to pull back and let the melody and the vocals carry things. So I think over time my playing has become more sensitive to what's going on with the whole group rather than just what I want to do internally, which I think it makes a better musician is when you're working with other people, so you have to listen to other people and play what's most appropriate in those parts. So I think I've just become a better musician. The bass lines maybe from the Pez era were maybe a little bit more challenging or something on some of the songs, but I don't know, I have a hard time still playing some of our Billy Talent songs too. So the challenge is there for me, and which is a motivation to play for sure, because you like to like succeed on your instrument, but it's more about the songs with Billy Talent, and that's kind of always been our main objective, is to write the best songs we can.
Oh, for sure. And going back to like the melodies you mentioned and like letting them speak for themselves over like the heavy like riffs and whatnot. Back in, I think it was 2017 at a Dream Serenade concert, you guys played some acoustics, and I think it was Surrender, and I want to say River Below, but I don't know if that's right. I know Surrender is definitely acoustic. There were two songs. Would you guys?
The Dream Serenade, we covered one of Hayden's songs, and then we did, I think, Surrender.
Yeah. Would you guys ever consider doing like a stripped down album of full acoustics and letting some of those like softer songs speak for themselves?
Yeah, we've talked about that. You know, that it would be a kind of a cool album to pick a handful of our material and make it acoustic. It would be a lot of work. So sometimes something like that, if it's not like a really an idea that we're all really behind, sometimes the amount of work can stop us from doing something. But I would like to do that one day, and I think it makes sense for us to be able to do that too, because you know, it's nice to just pick up the acoustic guitars and rip some songs where it's easy and direct and pure, rather than, you know, putting up the whole stage rock production and doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd be interested in one day exploring that. I think it would be cool.
Because I was there for that Dream Serenade concert, and that like version of Surrender, it hits different.
Oh, that's nice.
Is there other way to describe like it? This Surrender itself as a song that hits, but like just hearing it stripped down acoustically, it just like resonates with you stronger, just like hits that different emotional level. It was
That's awesome.
such a, like a great experience just to hear that.
Oh, cool. That's good to hear. I know we get nervous about doing things like that because, you know, the electric part of it is very full and big, and you're kind of almost you know, stripped naked when you're doing it acoustically. So if it translates, awesome.
No, it definitely translated. Definitely like spoke to me personally.
Awesome.
And this past year, like you guys got to hit the stage at Andy Kim this past December, like for the first time in how many months? What was that feeling like, and how amped are you to hopefully be able to hit the stage and go back on tour with Crisis of Faith soon?
Oh man, well, it's one of the reasons why we kept on pushing the release date back, is because we didn't want to put out what we feel is such a fantastic album and then not be able to do any kind of touring around it. So yeah, man, we're really, really excited to get back on the road. It's been too long, and you know, it's really hard to even comprehend or put my head around, because the way things are going now in Ontario, obviously it just feels like we've taken some steps backwards, and like I just want to get out there and you know, play some shows. So yeah, the Andy Kim's night was really special too, and that was at Massey Hall, which the new Massey Hall, renovated Massey Hall, is just beautiful, and that's such an epic venue. So great night.
That's a great venue, great show, great set. And congrats again on Crisis of Faith, which comes out January 21st, and can't wait for the world to hear everything, Jon.
Yeah, me too. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.